I'm going to introduce you to the concept of double sharp or double flat, and also introduce and define for you a term that we use when notes share the same name. So, quick review. Last time we understood that we could use a symbol, the sharp symbol or the flat symbol, to raise or lower notes. We specifically looked at raising or lowering the white notes and therefore being able to give a name to the black notes. And if we raise a note, we raise it to the note immediately above it, so in this case the note F becoming F sharp, on the keyboard the note F becoming F sharp. Or we can lower a note in a similar fashion, where in this case we have the note G to the note G flat, again lowered to the note immediately below it, so the note G moves to the note G flat. We did also note that this note F sharp or G flat clearly shares two names. Sometimes it can be known by one name, F sharp, and at other times by another name, G flat. And that's a concept we're going to talk about a little later in this video. Before we get to that, there is something else you need to know about sharps and flats. In more rare, although not extremely rare circumstances, you may have to raise a note not just once, not just sharpen it once, but sharpen it twice, up to two notes therefore above where you start. So, if you need to do that, what is the symbol for that? Well, it looks like this. You could have the note F, and you put a little X in front of it, and that little X means double sharp. Double sharp. All right? I've abbreviated the word double for you. So, if we have a note which is double sharp, what does that mean? Well, as I say, if sharp means to raise the note to the note immediately next to it, then double sharp means to go up to two notes next to the given starting note. So if this is an F double sharp, we would start on the note F, we would raise it once, twice. Now we're on the note G, the note we would much more readily and naturally call the note G. But if indeed it is written this way, then the white note G becomes F double sharp. Now that may seem A, confusing, and B, you might say, well, why? Why in the world would you do that? We'll get to that in a moment. First of all, get the concept. F double sharp. Similarly, we could take the note G and we could double flat it. Now, the double flat symbol is just two flats next to each other. Why we use a special X for double sharp and why we use two flats for the double flat is possibly there is an answer out there. I'm unaware of it. It may just be lost in the mists of time. But either way, this is the situation. So two flats next to each other create a double flat. The concept is the same as the double sharp, and honestly the concept or principle is the same as a sharp or a flat. It just means you're going one further note down the piano. So you would start with the note G, you would go down, double flat, one flat, two flats. Again, now you're on the white note F, but for the purposes of a particular circumstance in music theory, you may be referring to that white note F as the note G double flat. So the concept is that just as notes can be sharpened and flattened, they can also be double sharpened or double flattened. Now, that's a great concept. Have that concept in mind because it does get just a little bit more, I wouldn't say confusing, but you just have to stay on your toes a little bit when you start looking at the piano keyboard and thinking about double sharps and double flats. For example, if I start here on the note F and I have a double flat, then I would go one flat, two flat. I would be on the note that we would perhaps more readily think of as being either E flat or D sharp, right? But instead I'm calling it F double flat. So this note that exists between the white notes D and E can have three different names. It can be D sharp, it can be E flat, or it can be F double flat. And there are many notes on the piano that can share multiple names in this way. Let's take the note B and make it B double sharp. Now I would go up one sharp, up two sharps, and I have the note C sharp, D flat, B double sharp. This note here can have one of three names. That is true with other notes on the piano as well. We could look at this note here, and it could be C double flat, it could be B flat, or it could be A sharp, and so on. For your homework, there is one note that can only share two names. All the rest can have up to three different names. But there's one note that it can only share two. I wouldn't say it's your homework, it's more like a little quiz. See if you can figure out which note on the piano keyboard will only have two names. We'll get to it in class, the answer in class. That said, the term we use, and this is important, the term that we use to describe notes that have more than one name is enharmonic. Enharmonic. We would say that this note is enharmonically C sharp, D flat, or B double sharp. That we can call that note any one of those three names. And those three names are enharmonic equivalents. We can actually write the note on the staff as a C sharp, a D flat, or a B double sharp. And if I were physically playing those notes on the piano, you would hear exactly the same note every time. Because the note C sharp is this note, the note D flat is this note, the note B double sharp is this note. It's the same note. And so that note, the black note that exists between C and D, is enharmonically one of three different names. And that, of course, is true of many other of the notes. They can share three names, or at least two names. Most of them share three different names. So this is a concept you need to have in mind. You need to know what we mean by enharmonic equivalence, that notes share the same name, that the same note has different names, that the same note has different names. That's what we mean by enharmonic equivalence. And you also need to know what we mean by, you should already know what we mean by sharp and flat, but now we know what we mean by double sharp and double flat as well. So you have the concept of sharp and flat, but also of double sharp and double flat, and what that would mean to any given note on the keyboard. If we were to double sharp it or double flat it, what does that mean? What does it look like? What note are you physically playing? And are there other enharmonic equivalents to that note? Those are the concepts to bear in mind. We can go over the details in class if this has left you in any way confused. Thank you.